Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Lots of news to get through today, and it's just going to reiterate and prove once again why I lose faith in the powers that be, the ruling elite, the ruling class, however you want to refer to them. The people, the unseen, the people at the very top. We don't even know their names, the ones that are calling all the shots. And of course, as you all know, there's been a big Wikileaks dump of information, and they have the best record. I mean, you got to admit, 100% of the Wikileaks information thus far over the last decade has been proven to be correct. They have never been flawed or mistaken. The stuff, the materials they get, it's vetted, it's proven. And yes, this might have to do mostly with national security and foreign policy things, but if you would just wait a moment and let us kind of blend it into the metals discussions that we have here so often, because this does have something to do with precious metals. And you're like, what? How? How's that possible? Well, the very people that are calling the shots and controlling and manipulating and lying and being dishonest and shrouded in secrecy and covert action are the very same people that are manipulating currencies, the banking processes globally, global finance, the precious metals market, gold and silver and commodities, stocks and bonds, everything. That's where power is, and the seat of power, money, all of that. The very same people are in charge. I mean, look at the confessions of an economic hitman. These people will collapse a nation's economy that's not playing ball. If you're hoarding gold, or you challenge the authority of the ruling elite, or you challenge a certain particular currency, the greenback, they'll shut you down. You try to get your nation closer to a gold-backed currency or a silver and gold-backed currency using precious metals, you'll suffer the consequences. These people will collapse your economy. They'll hack your system. These are the cyber criminals. These are the hackers, the elite. So WikiLeaks did a big dump here. The CIA is caught with their pants down. I would say with no clothes on, pants, shirt, they have been disrobed. It's global, it's huge. This is going to be big news, and they're probably going to be having to uncover it and digest it for quite a while. I don't grasp half the stuff I've read about this so far. From what I've been able to gather, the CIA was using other nations, we'll read through it, but they were using other nations' malware and hacking processes, and they were also trying to throw people off their tail by leaving crumbs or evidence to suggest that other countries or other entities were the perpetrators of certain cyber crimes. One of them I heard about yesterday, and I couldn't find the links to this one, but it came from another friend of mine, was that they actually stole or relocated, found, took, consumed some wealth from another nation, that nation being Russia, and left evidence to suggest that it was Russian hackers that did it. Sound familiar? Russian hackers blamed? Could it have been that the CIA is the ones that hacked the DNC or hacked other the administration, the current administration, the Trump administration, prior to him being elected into office? Could they be behind certain cyber crimes? Because that's what some of the evidence suggests here, is that they will do things and then leave evidence to suggest someone else was there. And the way I look at it is like, this is gross, but let's say I took your fingertips and I committed a crime at someone's house. I stole all their metal, their gold, their silver, solvent metal. Let's pretend it's him. All right, Sal, no offense, I love you, man. But let's pretend I broke into Sal's house. I stole all of his silver, I kidnapped his cat, and in order to do that, I took your hands. Let's say I took Stack and AG-47. I took his hands, and I'm slapping them all over the house. So when they investigate the crime, the only prints in the whole place are Stack and AG-47's prints, all over everything, and even little clippings of his hair, and so the DNA's even there. And then, boom, that's who law enforcement's going to look for, right? So that's the equivalency of what the CIA, it sounds like, has been doing. Let's get into some of it. Documents released by Wikileaks show that the CIA kept records of malware attacks supposedly stolen from outside agents, including the Russian government, used to misdirect attribution of hacking sources. The CIA's handcrafted hacking techniques pose a problem for the agency, Wikileaks explains. Each technique has created forms of fingerprint that can be used by forensic investigators to attribute multiple different attacks to the same entity. I'm not a computer genius, so I don't know what all of this means. There's a discussion about Umbrage, the CIA's handcrafted hacking techniques. We just read that portion. WikiLeaks going as far as to blame the CIA for facilitating false flag attacks. And again, this is global. WikiLeaks claiming that they are revealing how CIA hacks TVs and phones all over the world. The CIA has become the preeminent hacking operation, sneaking into high-tech phones and televisions to spy on people worldwide, according to an explosive WikiLeaks publication of purported internal CIA documents on Tuesday. To hide its operations, the CIA routinely adopted hacking techniques that enabled them to appear as if they were hackers in Russia, WikiLeaks said. Okay, so next time you hear that the Russians hacked into the Dow Jones Industrial Average and collapsed it overnight or did some bizarre act of espionage, you might have to second guess the information that you're getting from the fake news. Jumping over into metals, all of them in the red. Great, celebrate it. I'll stack deep and stack some more. So we got silver down 1.26%. We've got gold down 0.46%. This is just earlier this morning. So silver's at 17.31, gold's at 12.10.50. Not bad. Not bad there. Silver hanging out under 18 bucks. Gold hanging out above the 1200 mark again. Looking at the overall charts of the metals, they got a little trajectory headed downward, and silver cascading down from the 1750 mark to below 1730. Let's talk about what's going on stateside. There's a lot of, as the new legislatures are getting in session nationwide, a lot of states are looking at honest and sound money. They're looking at what's happening internationally, potential of a disruption in the dollar's strength. And so gold and silver, honest, sound money rising at the state level. Inflation is the most pernicious of taxes levied by our government. Officials systematically devalue the Federal Reserve note, dollar, then levy capital gains taxes on assets when their dollar price rises. The gains are largely illusory. Rising asset prices over time reflect the fact that the dollar buys less of everything. But the tax obligations triggered by this inflation are very real. Bills calling for the elimination of capital gains taxes on money, i.e. precious metals, have recently been introduced in both Idaho and Arizona. Money Metals Exchange President Stephen Gleason testified at the hearing and pointed out that by taxing so-called gains on exchanging precious metals for devalued Federal Reserve notes, we're adding another tax on top of the inflation tax. Guys like this deserve like freedom medals. This is big deal stuff. This is the kind of fight we need to be in. Idaho State Representative Ron Nate adroitly observed citizens aren't allowed to declare capital losses when the dollars they hold lose value. So it isn't fair to tax capital gains when the gold and silver they own rises in value. The Idaho bill, HB 206, passed the House Committee on Revenue and Taxation last Thursday and is expected to come up for a vote on the House floor in the coming days. The Arizona House of Representatives passed its own version of the Idaho bill, HB 2014, in mid-February, sending it on to the state Senate, which is holding a hearing this Wednesday. Former Congressman Ron Paul is scheduled to testify. Champion of liberty. Meanwhile, the Sound Money Defense League is helping Alabama, Tennessee, Virginia, and Maine eliminate sales taxes on gold and silver bullion. This is freedom. Supporters of sound money are working hard to reestablish gold and silver as money according to state law and make sure it is treated as such in the tax code. Trading one form of money for another should not trigger any tax. There is no sales tax when customers swap their precious metals for dollars, so switching dollars to bullion should also be tax exempt. Oklahoma, Utah, Texas, Idaho, and nearly 20 other states already exempt precious metals from sales tax. Utah and Oklahoma have gone one step further, reaffirming the U.S. Constitution's designation of gold and silver as legal tender. As such, the metals are free from all state taxes, including capital gains. Texas and Tennessee have both approved measures to establish precious metals depositories in their states. Utah legislators are now considering a bill to authorize the same. The idea is to facilitate ownership of gold and silver bullion in state-run investment funds, including pensions. These funds are in desperate need of diversification. Most are stuffed with conventional paper assets, which are at risk of going up in smoke in the event of hyperinflation in the US dollar or another 2008-style financial crisis. State depositories will also open the door for citizens to more easily use gold and silver in transactions. Parties who have a metals holding in a state depository would be able to make payments to one another by simply and instantly transferring title to the bullion. This would avoid the expense and time delay required in transferring the physical bars. The movement for honest money is alive and growing, and it is vitally important. The deficits, the mountains of unpayable debt, and the metastasizing state and federal governments were all made possible using the black magic of fiat money. Superb article, excellent points. I love every word of it. I just hope that you guys in other countries, because I know this is a global community, can find a way to initiate some of those same processes and copy some of that legislation in your nation. I mean, it would be great if globally metals could once again turn back into money and be exchanged without the intrusive sticky fingers of the government. Lori Williams writes, Russia's gold reserves could overtake China's this year. According to the official announcement from the People's Bank of China, the country's gold reserves remained unchanged in February. We'll get to that in a moment. And at the current rate of gold reserve building, Russia could well overtake China as the world's fifth largest national holder of gold by the third quarter of this year. China seems to have entered a hiatus period of gold reserve building, while Russia has been reporting strong increases in its gold holdings month by month. So that's very interesting, and let's get into the China part of that because there's some tricky news in there. Economic news, China gold reserves unchanged at 59.24 million fine troy ounces at the end of February. China's gold reserves were unchanged at 59.24 million fine troy ounces at the end of February. The country's central bank said on Tuesday gold reserves value rose to $74.376 billion at the end of February from $71.292 billion at the end of January. Data published on the People's Bank of China website also showed. And it's difficult to trust some of the news released by China as far as how much gold they hold. As many of you are aware, that's often shrouded in controversy with many disagreeing on what the numbers truly are. China's pain could be gold investors' gain. So this is another article about China talking about the implosion or potential collapse of the Chinese economy. It talks about the strength of the economy in 1978, 1 year after taking control of impoverished China. Deng Xiaoping declared to get rich is glorious. Since Deng's declaration, China's per capita GDP has grown by over 5,000%. China is without question the biggest economic success story in recent history. However, rapid growth has come at a cost. China's total debt to GDP ratio is now a staggering 277%, and the credit expansion is showing no sign of slowing. New bank loans in 2016 totaled $1.84 trillion, 8% above the previous record. Although the economy grew by 6.7% in 2016, the debt is causing a host of problems in China. Yeah, the article goes on. There is some problems, a lot of debt. China's onshore bond defaults soar this year. Moving on, the Golden Dragon, the People's Bank of China, has been steadily increasing its gold holdings and now officially has around 59 million ounces, a figure that very well could be much higher. As I stated earlier, there's controversy about what the true numbers are. China's central bank sticks with bullion as it unloads treasuries. At today's prices, it's worth around 73.75 billion, but it's not only the central bank accumulating the yellow metal. Given the recent stock market volatility and the rapid increase in property prices, many Chinese have turned away from investing in these traditional assets. Also, unless you are politically connected, you can no longer get your money out of the country because of restrictive capital controls. As a result of this, many Chinese have turned to buying gold. So think about it. Perhaps the largest middle class in the world, or rising middle class, has turned to purchasing physical gold as a wealth hedge. As a result, many Chinese have turned to buying gold. In December, gold imports from Switzerland were 158 tons, up from 31 tons in November. It's estimated that between 1,000 and 1,500 tons a year goes into China, all of which is private demand. So what does China's unsustainable credit expansion and an affinity for gold mean for the U.S.? Well, here's some American implications. Given China was until recently the largest foreign holder of U.S. treasuries, if it continues to reduce holdings, it could cause problems stateside. Weak Chinese demand will push up yields and could hinder any planned fiscal expansion and less flexible refinancing options. Given its own elevated debt levels and tepid economic growth, higher interest costs would be extremely negative for the U.S. The main reason many Chinese are buying gold is to preserve wealth against the backdrop of massive fiscal stimulus and lax credit conditions. Never has a big economy piled up so much debt so quickly without serious repercussions. So we can all take a lesson from the Chinese population as they prepare for coming and potential economic uncertainty. Interesting times, interesting news. Thanks for tuning in to the Junius Maltby channel. Stand by for further news later on as we discuss the London silver benchmark providers stepping down and changes with the LBMA silver. All right, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all of you who are part of and contribute here at the Junius Maltby channel.